Hello there and welcome to another tutorial here with Fly the Noob. Today we'll be taking a look at the Cessna Caravan Pro by Black Square. Today's tutorial we're going to be performing a full flight. This is going to act as a walkthrough, a guide, a tutorial, particularly for beginner flight simmers to get started with this lovely detailed aircraft. By watching this tutorial, you should have a very good basis to begin exploring this aircraft from. Now, this is by no means a comprehensive and detailed look at the aircraft, but it is enough to get you started up. So yeah, that being said, let's go ahead and remove the engine covers right here. There we go. We can remove the pitot tube covers. We can remove the chocks. We can go to the tail section. See if the tail lock is engaged or unlocked. It's in the unlocked position, ready for flight. Alright. We can close our compartment doors here, the cargo pod doors. Let's do that. Brilliant. Okay. Before we jump into the aircraft, we can actually close our cargo door and our passenger entry door from here as well. So let's just go ahead and do that, shall we? There we go. Obviously, you can do all of this from the EFB, which we're going to take a look at in just a minute. Okay, let's put those stairs back up, and then we can close our co-pilot door just like that. Okay, we'll jump into the aircraft. Alright, here we are. Let's close up the pilot door here. So all the doors can be operated either from the walk around mode or from inside the aircraft or from the EFB right here. Okay, so we can bring that up right here. Brilliant. Now for today, I'm going to put our VR tablet in a static position there, just so it's easier for me to use with this view. In addition to that, in fact, before I do that, let's go and select our avionics for today. Today, I'm going to be using the 530 and the 430, which almost everyone has access to in the simulator. So that's what we'll be using for today's flight. We'll allow the systems to change here. There we go. We've got the 530 and the 430 installed. Okay, so right here, I'm going to enable this option because I find it helpful after I land. We can have realistic yoke movement. If you want to load up with the covers and chocks deployed, you can select that here. Everything else is fine for me. You can change these options as you prefer. So I'm going to go for this option as well, just so I have a view saved right here, okay? So for payload, today we're just going to be flying with the two pilots. Obviously, you can fill these seats up and your cargo pod up along with your fuel tanks from right here as you wish. In case the rudder lock that we examined near the tail section is engaged and you forgot to unlock it, you can do that from right here. If it's engaged, you can just switch it off from right here. Or alternatively, if you pull back on the yoke all the way as such, oh, sorry, there's a control lock. Once we remove the control lock, if we do that with the yoke, there we go. Rudder lock is going to disengage automatically there. All right. Good. Moving on. Obviously, you can operate all the doors and refill your oxygen from here as well. External power is also available here. We're going to go ahead and connect that and leave it there for today. Engine, this is where you can monitor the engine, recharge your batteries, repair the engine if your condition is below 100 and you want to do that. You can still fly with your engine condition below 100, but if you want to repair it, it's right here. Clear engine, repair starter, clean filter options are all here. This is the area where you can see whether FOD is being ingested, and you can operate the inertial separator as necessary. If there's a lot of FOD and debris coming through, you can just operate your inertial separator, and that will help minimize the damage to your engines. Okay, but for now, we don't need that. Great. Next, we have the electric systems here. We've got your cabin. Here you can condition your cabin as you need. You've got ear discomfort indication here. You've got your temperature here. Outside air temperature is mentioned right here. Oxygen is here. And your temperature targets will be shown here. We'll take a look at that after we start up. Next, this is your failures page. Now, it will by default have 1 real-time failure rate. I recommend you put this to off, especially if you're a beginner to the aircraft. Until you're fully comfortable with it and you've learned it to a decent degree, leave it off. That will make your life easy, because in case something does fail, it's not always easy to identify that something has failed. So this is how I like to fly, with the failure rate off. And if you need to simulate something, just use the fail now button. Okay. That all being said and set for today's flight, let's go ahead and get our aircraft started up and we'll program in our route for today. Okay. First thing first, let's get rid of the control lock here so we can freely move our yokes. Let's hide this for the time being and let's begin. First thing, overhead fuel selectors need to be switched on. Then make sure that your throttle is in the appropriate position here. Put your propeller RPM to max and the condition lever to cut off. Make sure these two are pushed in and flaps are up. Good. All right. All these switches should be off in the beginning. We've got that off. We've got that off. All of this is off. It's looking good. All right. Great. We are ready to get our engine started up. So let's go ahead and do that. Batteries on. Let's put external power by pushing this switch all the way to bus position. There you go. Got all that running. Good. Let's turn on our nav lights. Let's turn on our beacon lights as well in advance. Let's turn on avionics 1. That will bring our first avionics, the primary avionics systems to life here. The rest of them are powered by avionics 2. All right, once that is done, we can go ahead and run our fuel boost. Okay, so let's do that. You can see the fuel boost pump is running, fuel is running down. There we go, FCU is green. So let's put our ignition to on here. Okay, and we can go ahead and put the starter to the start position. So let's do that. There we go. NG is rising here. Once it passes 12, which it has just done, we're going to put condition lever to low idle. Let NG rise. In the meantime, we can go ahead and align the GPS here. Acquire the signals. Okay, NG coming up past 50, past 52, there we go. And we can put the starter to off position, ignition to normal position. We can then go ahead, turn on our avionics switch 2, come to the generator switch here, put it to reset, just like that, and let it go. We can put our fuel boost to normal. Now the standby alternate power is usually switched on before takeoff, but we can go ahead and switch it on right now. It doesn't matter. One less thing for us to potentially miss before taking off. So we're going to leave it like that. So let's go through the switches. Oh, we don't need external power anymore. So we can close this, come to payload, remove external power, and there you go. Okay. GPS signals are being acquired. That's great. So battery is on, generator is in on, and you have your annunciator panel, all lights extinguished. Fuel boost is on normal. Starter is on off. Ignition is on normal. This is on. Avionics switches are on. That's great. Good. Let's put our passenger seatbelt and no smoking or no device signs, whichever they are, on. Let's align GPS on our secondary systems as well. We should ideally have our weather radar on standby when we are here parked. We don't need to turn that on till we're on the runway. Autopilot here, we can set our cruising altitude for today. We're going to go all the way up to 10,000 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up right there. Okay. And we've got our transponder on altitude. That's fine. We'll switch it to on position once we're on the runway or about to take off. This happens from time to time at this particular location, but it doesn't last. Usually it sorts itself out. Let's see if it will. Okay, let's come to the lights here. This is the landing light. Yep, this is a taxi and recognition light, and this is the strobe light. So we'll turn that on as necessary. Okay, let's now go ahead and set our altimeter. You can either use the knob here or you can have your control mapped. I like to have my control mapped for altimeter, and there you go. Set the local altimetric pressure there. We can lower our flaps to position 10 for takeoff. That is done. Brilliant. Now, this doesn't seem to be working, huh? Very well. I'm just gonna cycle these avionics switches. Hopefully that sorts the problem out. I've been having that issue once in a while. Don't know why. Okay. Obviously all the failures are off. Okay, so there you go. Cabin. We've got 15 degrees Celsius outside air temperature. It's quite cool. So let's see if we can get some air conditioning running here. To do that, here is the mode here. When you pull it up, you have the AC switch on. Okay, let's redo that. And when you bring it down, you put it on ventilate mode. And that gets these three fans running. You can control their speed with these switches. Now you've put the fans to high there. Now you've put the fans to low here. There we go. Okay. Now if you put this to cool, you're supposed to run the AC. Now to run the AC, you need a little bit more on the throttle, just like that. And that will get the AC running for you. And you can target what temperature you need to. Obviously, currently the target temperature is higher than the cabin temperature, so it doesn't make any sense to run the cool. You want to put this on ventilate, and you want to turn on the heater. So for heating, you do this. That'll run the heater right here, and it will bring the temperature to the target temperature. Now to change the target temperature, you use this knob here. You can change it, you can increase the temperature or you can decrease the temperature. I like to leave it at 23, so I'm going to leave it there, and we can warm up our cabin as such. So there you go. Okay, so this is for mixing air here. So if you want the warm air from coming up from the engine to not go through here, you can pull it. Now when you're on the ground, this is supposed to be pulled. When you're about to take off or when you're in flight, it's supposed to be pushed in, according to what it says here. If I'm not wrong, yep. That's what it says, yep, flight push, okay? This lever here controls this valve here. So if you want warm air to make its way back into the cabin, or towards the pilot seat, or towards the defrosting area here, you need to adjust the valve as necessary, as required. All right, so we can put it in the middle. Since we have no passengers today, we can just leave it at the front. If you want defrosting, you pull this to defrost. If you just want the heating, you just leave it pulled in. That's all you gotta do. Okay, simple. All right, so for today we're gonna leave it exactly like this. Now before takeoff, I like to switch off all the heating and AC if I'm running it. I like to switch it off for takeoff. Oh, look at that. We've got our GPS available to us. Let's go ahead and tune in today's flight plan. So we are taking off. Before I do anything, let me show you guys a little nav map where I've got a flight plan for us planned for today's flight. So on little nav map, we're doing a very simple flight today. We're taking off from LDRI, that is in Croatia, LDRI. We're going to take off using this very simple departure, and we're going to fly all the way to Hungary. to a place LHPP. Okay, that's where we're going to. PEX. And this is Rijeka, I believe. I'm not sure. I am pretty sure I am butchering those pronunciations. Forgive me for that. But yeah, we're going to take off from LDRI, follow a simple departure here. Very simple flight plan with no waypoints on the way, just straight in to PEX, which does not even have an arrival procedure or any of that, but it does have an ILS. And that's why I've chosen it. So let's see how we can go ahead and program this route into this particular avionics system here. So we're going to do that at the top. The simplest way we can do this is what I'm going to show you. Go to procedures, select your departure from right here. You got the airport you spawned in at, LDRI. Select your departure. For today we are using, I believe we're using Rugo 1X. Okay, so we're going to enter that. From runway 14 we're going to take off. We're going to load this in just like that. There's your flight plan right there. Okay, nice and easy. Next, you notice we have no on-way waypoints, and I've made it that way. Obviously, if you have any, you can input them as such. Again, notice that there are no arrival procedures. Normally, the simplest way to do this would be to go to procedure and select an arrival. But now, if we try to do that for the airport that we've just chosen, which is, if we go here and let's say we decide to put LHPP in, you'll notice quickly that it does not have an arrival available to it. So let's see, LHPP. So as you can tell, there are no arrivals available for it. So when we try to enter that without any arrival or any of that, it's not going to work in this way. Okay, so to get around that, if you are flying to an airport with no arrival procedures or no approaches, you just have to input that directly on the flight plan page right here. So you do this, scroll all the way down. Now, since we want to use the ILS today for landing, we can pick a waypoint right in front of it, PCS 83. I'm going to put that in here like so. Okay, now I can go ahead and put PCS 83 in Hungary. I'm going to enter that. Okay, there is PCS 83 right here. After this, we're going to directly put in our destination for today, which is LHPP. So this is the simplest way we can do this particular flight plan. Okay, LHPP. There we go. I'm going to enter that. Now if you take a look at our flight plan, this is what it looks like. Okay, they appear as en route waypoints, but that's okay. When we reach PCS 83, we're going to use the ILS. Done. Now to go back to the default page here, just long press on clear. That'll bring you to the nav page, and just scroll through to get the desired page there. Look at that. Okay, so there you go. We've got that flight plan programmed in. This is as far as we can zoom out for now, and that's enough for today. Okay, excellent. As a matter of fact, let me zoom in a little bit here. I will zoom out on the smaller one here. There you go. There you go. We can actually see it right there. Brilliant. That being said, we can put away our little nav map there, and our flight plan is ready. Our cabin is warming up nicely. Engine is looking good. We can go ahead and begin taxiing to get on out of here now. Okay, flaps are down. Everything is looking good. We can put on our taxi or recognition lights there. Okay, and yeah, let's get out of here. I'm gonna put our propeller down to idle. Let's release the parking brake. Parking brake is here, by the way. So there you go. I'm gonna turn our aircraft like so. I'm just gonna roughly follow the taxiways. In case you find that the aircraft is taxiing too fast, like it is in this case for example, you can always put your propeller to this range here, the beta range. Between reverse and idle, there's the beta range. You can use that. What that does is it changes the pitch of the propeller, slows down the aircraft, allowing you to taxi much more slowly. What I find is that before making turns on the ground, whilst taxiing, I like to pull it back to the beta range. That helps me to make turns at a lower speed with more control. But whilst going on these straight taxiways, I just like to leave it on idle. That will help me reach quicker. So I'll do this now. There you go. And then I'll turn, make the turn a bit smoother there. And then I'll put it back up to idle. See that? Zoom out a little bit to show you guys this. So right now we're on idle. We're just going along quite fast. Nice and easy. There you go. And then when I'm about to make a turn, I just like to go into the better range there. It gives me more control. Slows the aircraft down just enough. And then we've got a nice straight stretch ahead. I put it back up to idle. Okay. We're on the runway. We can put our landing lights on and our strobe lights on. There we go. Since we're on the runway, why not? We can also put our weather radar on here. Not that we need it today. And this aircraft is quite wobbly, by the way, mind you. Keep an eye on the taxi speed when your throttle lever is on idle position. It gets away from you. There we go. We're approaching the end. I'm going to slow the aircraft down. There we go. Now, don't mind my abrupt braking today. I have the brakes mapped to a button. So the braking is going to be quite erratic and abrupt. The best is to have pedals mapped for braking. That will make your braking smooth. Unfortunately, I don't have pedals available to me today. So anytime I press the button, it's just going to go to max braking. So it's going to appear a little choppy. Don't mind that. Here we go, lining up with the runway there. There we are. Okay. Gonna put our parking brake on for a second. Alright, so for takeoff, we got all our lights ready. Windshield heating here, in case you're using it, should be turned off for landing and takeoff. You can turn on the other heats, such as pitot heats, if required. Today we do not require it. We've got enough. It's warm enough outside. We don't require it. All these buttons are in the right position. Flaps are down. The only thing we need to do is change our condition lever before we do. Let's go ahead and turn off our heating. Let's put this off, as in the fans, the ventilation to off right there. Excellent. All right. Now we can go ahead and put our condition lever up to high idle. And that will get us ready for takeoff. So let's go increase our torque here. There we go. Let me push it. Let me push it. There we go. Right there. And we can release our parking brake. All right. Okay, we can pull back now at about 70-75 knots. You can take off nice and easy. There we go. Our ITT is rising slowly. That is the third dial at the very top. We can reduce the propeller in just a second. Let me give it off to the autopilot so I can show you guys what I'm doing. We'll put it on nav mode here by pressing that. We need to reduce the propeller RPM right here to around right below this red line. We want to pull back on the throttle to manage our torque here, and we also need to manage our temperature. So these three we need to continuously monitor. I'll get into detail of that in just a second. So to engage our nav mode, you just have to press that right here, and that'll get nav going for you, GPS automatically being followed. We have armed 10,000 feet. If you want to control, right now it's in pitch, it's holding the pitch, but if you want to control, we can put our flaps up at 95 IAS. So let's put our flaps up. There we go. If you want to control the VS, you just have to press the Alt button again. There's your VS mode. We can go down. We don't need to climb this steeply. We can go at 800, and the autopilot is going to automatically do that for us. Speed slightly increasing. ITT looking good. Ideally, for our temperatures here, you want to keep it within this green band right here. That is where you want to ideally keep it. That's going to make your engine conditions stay at ideal for as long as possible. And for propeller, you want to keep it under this red line right here, anyway, in this green band. For torque, you want to keep it below this, and at this for takeoff. You want to keep it at this for takeoff and below this during flight. That's what you want to do. Okay, so managing the torque and the prop RPM will let you control the ITTs effectively. So this is what's going to limit how hard you can push the aircraft. Okay, so that's something to watch out for. Let's check out the message here. Set course to 139. This is not necessary, but yeah, we've got it automatically being done. Here is your heading bug that you can use, right? You can use your heading bug as necessary, as required. If you want to keep it in tune with the direction you're flying, you can do that. Here is your course CDI. We'll learn how to operate this as we come in to land. Okay, excellent. Good. For now, we don't have anything tuned in. We'll get to that as we come in to land here. Okay, so we're climbing out towards 10,000 feet. Everything is looking good. Temperature is looking fine. RPM is looking fine. We have a bit more of room to open up the torque a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we can go a little faster, but the airspeed is looking excellent. Flaps are up. We can turn off the landing lights now if we want. Usually you would do that above 10,000 feet for commercial traffic, but for us, it doesn't really matter. We can turn that off. So there you go. We can turn off or leave the passenger signs. Let's go to the cabin. Now we can turn back the heating on. There you go. There we go. All right. Looking good. Now we're just going to continue our climb till cruising altitude. So I will tune in with you once we reach 10,000 feet. Okay, here we are at our cruising altitude of 10,000 feet. We're coming along nicely here to our flight plan. 10,000 feet, torque looking good, RPM looking good, ITT right on the edge, but our engines are looking just fine, and we are continuing on our journey here. So what I'll do now, I'll continue to cruise here till we reach our top of descent somewhere around here, and then we'll tune in to the localizer or the VOR DME, and then we'll see what we can do as we come in to approach our destination for today. So for now, we're going to continue cruising until I reach top of descent. So I'll join you at top of descent. Okay, we're still cruising along here. I just wanted to mention one quick thing. In this aircraft, fuel imbalances can easily develop between the two tanks on either side. If that does happen, all you have to do is manage your fuel tank selectors, switch one off, leave the other on, till it kind of corrects itself. It's not that big of a deal, but sometimes the imbalance can be very serious, such as in this situation. It's a large difference. So when that happens, just switch off one of the fuel selectors till the situation corrects itself. That's all you have to do, just something to mention. So here we have less fuel on this tank than this tank. So I'm just going to close off the right tank fuel selector right there. Okay. And I'm going to continue with this one open. That will gradually reduce the fuel in this one and help us correct the imbalance. So just something to mention. Let's continue with our cruising here. Alright, here we are at our top of descent. We're coming along to our top of descent here. So let's go down to about 2,500 in altitude. I'm gonna go ahead and set that here to 2,500 just to make sure we capture the glide slope and localizer correctly. And then I'm gonna go right here to the VS, and I'm gonna ask the aircraft to drop maybe at about 500. It's more than enough for today. Watching the airspeed to make sure we don't overspeed here. Engine condition, propeller torque, all looking good. Speed is creeping up here. We do not want to hit that red line at all in terms of airspeed. Okay. I think the fuel imbalance is not exactly correcting itself, but it's fine. We'll play around with the fuel selectors to see what can be done there. Okay, now as we come down to descend and as we fly towards our destination of LHPP, let's take a look at the ILS system we're going to be using today. We have 108.35 as the frequency, 332 degree magnetic as the direction, glide slope of 3 degrees, and DME available as well. So we can go ahead, what is the message? Set course, we don't need to worry about that. Okay, so let's come down here. Our airspeed is a little high. It's not too bad though. Okay. There we go. Let's come down here. Let's go to our VLOC or our navigation frequencies right here. So we can do that. Push this to switch between COM and nav. VLOC frequency. Let's go to 108.35. 0.35 right here, and then we'll switch it into the active one. Now over here we can put this on N1 and that will give us the DME and all of that stuff right here. Okay, now we're not in range of it yet, so we're not going to see anything just yet, but we will as soon as we're in range. If you want, you can tune in this one as well, although you don't necessarily have to. We're not going to use this one today, but just in interest, we're just going to tune that in here as well. Okay, so let's see. We'll wait for our DME to come into view here. We'll be able to see the distance right here. What is going on with the VS? Oh, good. I thought a VS was 2,500. It's not. So we're just descending at 500. Our altitude is at 2,500. My bad. Altitude armed at 2,500. VS engaged at 500. You can see the vertical speed here. This is our radar altitude. And this is our altimeter, obviously. So we're going to be using this instrument right here. It will give us our course indications and our glide slope as well as we come into land. So we can do this in advance and prepare for our landing. 332 degrees, that is our runway heading. So we can set that up on this particular instrument. Right, let's set our course to 300. We can put it at 332. So here is 330. Here is 360. 54. We can leave it somewhere here. Can leave it somewhere here. Okay, we'll leave it like that. All right. Now, another thing to remember that I did not mention, you should leave your inertial separators. You should leave this engaged during taxi in, taxi out, takeoff, and landing, just to prevent any debris getting ingested into your engines. So before landing, we are gonna go ahead and engage it, and we're gonna leave it engaged till we park. That being said, we also need to remember to turn on both the fuel selectors for landing, and we need to work on our lights, propeller, RPM need to go to max, etc. But we'll worry about that as we come in to land. But for now, let's just continue on our descent till we reach near our turn at PCS 83. Okay, so for now, let's just continue on our descent, and I'll see you somewhere closer to PCS 83. One more thing I wanted to mention before that, I did forget to change our transponder to on, so that is a mistake. I left that out, my bad. We want to put that on before takeoff, obviously, but yeah, did not do that. We have just managed to capture the signal, and there's our DME 27 point something nautical miles to the signal. So there's our DME right there. Okay, so that's our distance left. Perfect. We are now about 10 nautical miles or so from the DME here. Obviously, you can perform much steeper descents than the one we're doing at only 500 feet per minute today. You can do much steeper descents than this and much later on during the flight to reach your destination quicker, but today we're just doing that in the interest of making sure everything is nice and slow for the purpose of the walkthrough. Okay, so 10 nautical miles away from the DME. Now, to get our autopilot to automatically capture the localizer and the glide slope, the nav button here gets its information from what the CDI button here is following. So if we have it on GPS, it's going to follow the GPS track. But if we switch it to VLOC right here, it's going to tune in to the frequency and capture the localizer. All right, that's what will happen if we change it to VLOC. It's going to capture the localizer. And once that's done, we can also press the approach button here to engage the glide slope if available, such as in today's case, because we're using an ILS. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. We're also within 1,000 feet of our target altitude of 2,500. When you are within 1,000 feet of your target altitude on the autopilot, whether you're descending or whether you're climbing, you'll hear a double beep, I believe, or a triple beep. And that beep means that you're within 1,000 feet of your selected altitude. Apart from that, we're looking all good for the time being. You can take a look at our cabin. There we go. We've reached 23 degrees. Everything is looking fine for our landing here. Great. Let's see how this goes. Let's switch to VLOC mode here. Let's go to nav. We'll press nav there. We've reached 2,500 feet. I think I changed the mode by mistake. But yeah, we've reached 2,500 feet. So let's go and see if the aircraft will automatically turn in. Okay, it says it is going to turn left to 332 degrees in right now. So let's see if that happens. Nothing is happening. That's interesting. The aircraft is not turning. Let's manually turn this in, shall we? Maybe we've flown too off course there. Yeah, we are past the signal anyway. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to come back in to try again. I think we are too far away from the signal. Okay. Let's try one more time to see if that will actually capture or not. Let's put it on nav mode, VLOC right there. Let's reduce the throttle. Okay, we can see the glide slope right here. That's the glide slope. Let's see, we're turning in. Yeah, we're too far away from the signal, that's why I didn't capture. Let's see. Okay, we should be able to capture it. Alright, holding on. Let's see what happens. Switch it to nav mode, VLOC. Let's also switch on approach here. Let's see if it can capture glide slope as well. Glide slope is up here, by the way. Let's see if our aircraft is able to capture that localizer. Let's reduce our speed. There we go. I believe we've caught the localizer right here. Yep, we have. Okay. So now when the glide slope reaches us, we should begin automatically descending here as well. So let's see if that happens. Do we have a visual of the runway? No, I do not. Not exactly. Okay. Localizer has been definitely caught at this point. We were too far out from the signal. We were around here. So we should have come in somewhere closer to here to catch the localizer. So yeah, we corrected that. We're on the localizer at the moment. Glide slope is there, and there we go. We've caught glide slope as well. Excellent. Excellent. We can now put away a little nav map there. Let's reduce the throttle so we can cut down on our speed. Let's open up. We still have 5 nautical miles. Oh, there's the runway in front of us. We can see the runway. I have visuals on the runway right there. Good. Let's cut the speed further. Not by too much. We still have 4 nautical miles. That's plenty at 110 knots. That's good enough. There we go. You can see that the fuel imbalance has actually sorted itself out. It did work. But for landing, we need both of them open. So let's go ahead and open our other fuel selector right there. Brilliant. Let's turn on our landing lights here. Yeah. Speed is low enough. We still got about 4 nautical miles to the foot of the runway. So we're going to continue like this. Everything looking good. Yep, there we go. Everything looking good. All right. (500 or 600 feet per minute descending. Glide slope right here. Of course at 332 right here, somewhere there. Yep, that's 332. I believe this is 332. Yeah, it is. Yep, there we go. I believe that's 332, and you can see we're perfectly in line, which it is. Good. All right, let's put our flaps down. Don't want the torque to go too low. We need to put our RPM up. We can put our flaps down. Position 10 first. Can put it down all the way. Flaps full for landing. There we go. We need to have some power available to us in case we need to use that. Okay, flaps are full, lights are looking good, everything else is looking good. We can turn off the heating and the ventilation for the time being. We can engage our inertial separator for landing just in case of any debris, and we're ready. Okay, let's go ahead. Focus on the landing now. Radio altimeter says we're below 500 feet. We can take control of the aircraft, disengaging autopilot. My aircraft. Need a bit more speed here. Just make sure that your torque is not at 0 when coming into land. just so you have that extra power available should you need it. Obviously we have visuals today, otherwise you'll be using the glide slope, the yellow markers on the dead center to help you guide your descent. Okay, there we go. Let's see how this goes. Okay, puppy lights don't agree with the glide slope per se, but that's okay. We don't need any reverses today, but obviously you can engage them. The aircraft will come to a very quick stop. Okay, we don't need them today. So we're going to disengage them. There we go. Let's put our flaps back up. See, we do have some level of debris coming in. So it's a good thing we had our inertial separators engaged. Okay, we can put back our heating systems if we wanted to. Yep, there we go. Let's continue our taxi. We should find ourselves a parking somewhere there. Looking good. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you fly the Cessna Caravan. At least a very condensed walkthrough of a full flight right there. Obviously there are a lot of nitty-gritty nuances and a lot of details to this flight, to this aircraft, my bad. Because as you know, it is a very detailed simulation, but for the purpose of demonstration and to get started with the aircraft, that is plenty for you to know. So yeah, there we are. Okay, there we are. Turn that off if we want to, but that's okay. Okay, we can put that back on alt. We can put that back to standby. We can turn off strobe lights and our landing lights, just like that. Coming into park. There we go. We'll put our aircraft in here. Again, don't mind my abrupt braking. There we go. Head back inside. We can close up our inertial separators now. Turn off that heating. We can put back our propeller there. There we go. Looking good. Let's turn off taxi lights. We can turn off those passenger lights right there. Done. Now let's go ahead and shut down the engine. Condition lever to feather. There we go. Not condition. This is a propeller RPM. Sorry. To feather. Condition lever to low idle, followed by cutoff. And there we go. Engines shutting off. Perfect. Let that happen. Beacon lights can come off now. Obviously, feel free to use the heating as necessary depending on your weather condition, but for today we didn't need it. Especially if it's below 4 degrees or at 4 degrees, you want your pitot heats and all that stuff on. And if there's icing, obviously you want your windshield de-icing on. But for takeoff and landing, please switch this off. Alright, fuel boost can come to off. We can trip the generator, doesn't really matter. Alternate power source standby off. We can put our avionics now to off. Okay, we can also turn the transponder off there. So we can do that. Okay, flaps are up. That is done. That is done. Good. Can turn off our nav lights. So just checking battery there. That is done. That is off. That is normal. That is off. That's all done. Means we can also go ahead and turn off our battery now. Just like that. There we go. Then fuel selectors can come to off. Okay. So we've managed to complete the flight with engine condition still at 100%. Obviously, we made a few blunders along the way, but that's not that big of a deal. We forgot to turn on the transponders before takeoff. Inertial separators should have been engaged for takeoff. The localizer, we should have gone in a little more before trying to capture the localizer, which we corrected, so not that big of a deal. So yeah, there we go. We managed to correct the fuel imbalance along the way. Great. Great, great, great. All right, so now we can go ahead and open up these doors if we want to. There we go. Or not, whatever you like. You can put back the wheel chocks, whatever you like. There you go. All right. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That completes our full flight tutorial for the tutorial walkthrough guide, whatever you want to call it. This should help you definitely get started with this absolutely beautiful aircraft from Black Square. Again, this is intended as just a flight simmer's guide, particularly a beginner's guide to this aircraft. The best way to learn is just press buttons. I'm telling you, press buttons, see what happens. Try to undo what you did. Observe. That's the best way to learn something, and that's exactly why we're in a simulator, so we can do things like this which we might not necessarily be able to do in real life. So yeah, I hope you guys found that tutorial useful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Check out my videos, join me on live stream. Thank you very much, and until next time, I shall leave it here. So yeah, hope to see you soon. Have a good day, and bye bye.